everyone. We're going to go over Dragon City Corridor today, and it is a very complicated raid. There's a lot going on for each of the different areas. So we're going to start off with talking about the markers, and then we're going to go into what the tank role is, and then what the job of the DPS is. And it's going to be a long video, so please hang in there and we'll get to everything. Okay, you're going to want to have two teams for the raid setup. Both of them are DPS and healers. One is going to be for the ice side and the other is for the fire side. 5 people on these teams are going to be on orbs, and they are going to be switching sides for the orb mechanic. You're also going to want 3 to 4 tanks. It's easier with 4, I think, but it's definitely doable with 3, and that's what we're using in this video. Okay, for the setup, there is a green marker on this circle and another marker on the other side that's white. These are where there's going to be these large balls that come out, and 4 people have to line up behind the marker to stop these balls that go through these orbs. In the middle is a yellow moon. That's where you take your mechanics with the circles around you, the typical kind of the ones that you see when you move away from each other. This one you're going to move away from the raid into the center. There's going to be an ice one that will kind of put you in an ice cage, and a fire one that will be used to put out to melt the ice cages. On the far side is a Roman numeral 6 marker, and it's blue, and that is behind the pillar for share damage mechanics on the ice side. On the fire side, there is also a yellow number 5 marker, and it is behind a pillar, and you will hide behind that for the share damage mechanic and the purple lines mechanic. Okay, just off to the side of me is an orange diamond where you will tank the fire boss. Alright, on the far side, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the ice section. Here is this blue triangle is where you tank the ice boss. There are also markers at the back for ice puddles, as well as an orange number 3 behind the boss for the first round of ice puddles. So I think that covers all of the markers. When you pull the boss, both sides pull at the same time. So here you can see a really good shot of that Roman numeral 4 right behind the pillar. That's where you go for, again, the share damage on this side. Okay, in this run I'm actually the second tank, so our main tank is up ahead and getting ready to pull. Don't be alarmed if you're pulling. The boss will run to whoever side, both bosses will run to whoever side pulls first. So just go ahead and taunt and then let the boss run back to you. Okay, so here we have 2 tanks on this side and 1 tank on the other side. So what's going to happen with the tanks is you're going to want to switch off as soon as you can. Now here Kilashandra is tanking, and I am waiting for her to get about 2 stacks, and I'll show you the stacks in a minute, and then I pull the boss off of her. Now she runs across to the other side and pulls the boss off the other tank, and she will get, her ice stacks will go away and she will get fire stacks, and the other tank will come over here and come relieve me because I have ice stacks. And so if you get too many stacks, I think it's 15, it could be 13, you will end up wiping the whole raid. So here I just got relieved. He came over and took the boss. So now I'm going to cross the room and come over to the fire boss. Now you can see in the background this share damage where they're going behind the pillar for DPS. But so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to taunt the boss as soon as I get over here, as long as Kilashandra's ice stacks are gone. Okay, so tanks, there's 2 important spots to look. This is your stacks, and you really don't want them to be as high as 7 or 8, but if in this case, when the other tank comes back over to me, I'm going to probably ask him to wait a couple seconds so that I can at least get rid of my cold air stacks. The cold air stacks stack up faster than the fire ones do. So here I want all my cold air stacks to be gone before I run back across the room. So it's really important to use something like Discord to be able to communicate really well with the other tanks, so you can say when you've got the aggro for the boss and if you need to hold on. Now here, look, the mobs just went to the center. This is the beginning of phase 2. There's 3 phases. So here you can see the other tank next to me. He's going to wait a second. Now all my stacks are gone. That little buff is gone. And you can see I now have the fire stacks. So he's going to take aggro, and I'm going to go ahead and cross the room so that I can go take aggro from the other side. Now there's a few things you kind of have to be careful about with it. There's this kind of large AOE circle here, which will happen in just a minute. And when I cross the room, sometimes you have to stop in the center. You can see it kind of in the background here. And so you have to be really careful when you are crossing the room, tanks. Also, if they're doing the kind of large energy ball things in the middle, it's easier to kind of go across and then down, or down and then across, because you don't want to get hit by those. And every so often, just be aware you could end up with some of the mechanics that the DPS is doing because you're in the middle. Now here, this one is one where you get sucked into the boss. You just move back. The other side, the fire side, is getting pushed away from the boss, so you just have to kind of walk forward. Iron Will works there if you feel you need it, but again, we're just switching side. Now you can see these orangish circles. When you get those, they're going to the center for that center DPS mechanic. All right, so I think that kind of gives you an idea of how you want to play this for tanking. You can see in the background again here we have another purple mechanic. We'll get to that for DPS, where they all want to line up behind that pillar with those purple lines. That's on the fire side only. And at the same time they're doing that, the ice side is getting those puddles. Now, so as far as the tanking goes, hopefully that gives you an idea of tanking. All it is a repeat of the same thing. You're just going to constantly be switching sides. Now, up next is we'll go through the DPS. There's also, check the description. I'm going to put a link to BerniesGreenLife, actually 2 different ones. One's a really good video of just the DPS, kind of from their point of view, and another one is kind of a split screen of this exact same run and him doing the same run at the same time as a DPS. So it kind of gives you a better idea of what's going on with those fights. All right, for the DPS, the order of mechanics is for phase 1, the boss is Yellow AOE circles. That's on both sides. The ice cage and fire circles. The ice puddles on the ice side and the purple rectangles on the fire side share damage on both sides, followed by the boss's Yellow AOE circles. Ice cage and fire circles again, followed by another round of ice puddles and purple rectangles, and at 70%, the boss goes to the center of the room. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and restart this fight so we can go through the DPS. Now, I highly recommend a raid leader to write down this order of steps so you can call it out before they happen. So here in the background, you can see the big AoE for the boss, the yellow one that he does. That one was first. Up next are the ice cage and fire circles. Now, I don't have a good shot of this, but the DPS will get a red text box above their head. And what you'll do is you'll move these blue circles to the center, and you'll go into an ice cube. And the fire circles, these yellow or orange circles, they'll come from the fire side and need to go over each of the ice cube guys once. If you go over too many times, you're going to wipe those people. You're going to kill those people. So just try to go over each one once and then go back to your side. Okay, up next are the ice puddles and the purple rectangles. Now the ice puddles, I don't really have any good shots of them. Please check the other videos for those. But I'm sure that you get red text over your head. Same with the purple rectangles on the fire side. You can see the purple rectangles right there, and they all move over behind the pillar on the fire side, and that way you don't get any damage from those. And you can see we accidentally dropped a blue puddle right there in the background, which should have been dropped back where the boss spawned or in the back of the room. Now up next you can see the share damage mechanic, and everybody goes and piles up behind the pillar, so that way you don't take any actual damage if you're out of line of sight of the boss. Up next, we're going to stay near the boss as he is going to do another one of those big yellow circles in the background. Here you can see it on both sides, so you want to stay close to the boss or between those yellow circles if you're a tank switching sides. Okay, up next is the ice cage and fire circles again, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to see them in the background this time either. But after those, you'll have another round of the ice puddles. There you can kind of see the black text in the background going towards the middle, and a little bit of the orange circle. After that is the ice puddles and purple rectangles again. So those you'll see in the background in just a second. As we, there they go right there. So again, you need to line up behind that pillar right there so that you're out of line of sight of where the boss would be standing. And here we've gotten to 70%, so the boss goes to the center of the room. And now we're going to start phase 2. Okay, up next is phase 2, and we're going to start with energy orbs for the fire and ice side. A large AoE where you stay near the boss, followed by switching sides for the energy orbs groups only, then a share damage, then push back and the pull for the ice, and then ice cages and fire circles, which you are familiar with, ice puddles and purple rectangles, more energy orbs, another large AoE, switching sides for the energy orb groups again, share damage, followed by at 35% the boss goes back to the center. Okay, here we have the energy orbs. Now 4 players, you get this message in the middle of your screen. 4 players need to line up between the marker. You can kind of see them lined up. Of course, my thing cuts them out. But you can see this fire orb rolling over each of the 4 players. They need to stand in the line and be hit by these. And then once they are hit on both the fire and the ice side, it does this. You have this circle AoE for the boss, and then the ice and fire players need to switch sides. You can see them switching sides there because you cannot take that fire orb twice in a row. Now up next you could see those blue share damage things. Share damage players need to hide behind the pillars out of line of sight of the boss. Up next is this push-pull mechanic where the ice boss pulls you into him and the fire boss pushes you out. You can just walk forward or back, but Iron will stop this, though it's not really necessary. In the background, you can kind of see the blue circles for the ice cage and fire circles. Remember, go to the center. Ice cage, you're going to need to have a fire circle go over once for each of the ice cage players. Okay, up next are the ice puddles. Take those behind where I'm tanking against the wall, and the purple rectangles, so you can see those in the background going across to hide behind the pillar for the fire side. You can't use, the last time I ran this, there was like a dark purple circle where the bosses spawn, so we couldn't take the puddles over there. I'm not sure why it didn't show up in this video. This is followed by more of the fire and ice orbs. Here you can see the players starting to line up there for that mechanic. Sorry I don't have a better shot of the orbs going through there. But again, check out BerniesGreenLife's video. He did a great job with helping with the mechanic order, as well as has some good shots of the AoE or the DPS side of things. There you could see the large AoE circles, and then here the boss went to the center for the start of phase 3. And for some reason we also skipped the share damage mechanic because I'm not seeing that in the background. So up next we start phase 3. Okay, phase 3 is a little less predictable. The up first is the energy orbs, fire and ice. Hopefully you have changed sides. There's a large AoE, then share damage or energy orbs. Then there's the pull on the ice boss and the push on the fire boss, ice cage and fire circles, ice puddles and purple rectangles. Then these large AoEs, and then energy orbs, large AoEs, energy orbs. The boss, if one dies first, then the other enrages, so try to kill them at the same time. Okay, hopefully your energy orb teams have switched sides because we now have another round of energy orbs. You can see the message there. And you can see the ice orb rolling off to the side. This is followed by the large AoE, and make sure that the energy orb teams switch sides afterwards. Again, it's just important that tanks watch as they cross to make sure they don't get caught in that AoE. Now, up next is the share damage, but it's also the energy orbs. So you can see once I get here to the boss and I turn around that there is the share damage mechanic where they're lining up behind the pillar, and there's also an energy ball going across. Okay, after that, you will see the ice boss will start doing his pull mechanic, and the fire boss will push you out. So here you can see that starts now, where again the ice boss just kind of pulls you in and the fire boss just pushes you back. It's not a hard pull or push, so it's not a big deal mechanic. It can be a little bit of a pain for tanks switching sides though. Okay, up next are the ice cage and fire circles. Again, I don't have a good shot of this, but one time I did cross and get caught in an ice circle. I can't remember if I had the mechanic or I just crossed through one. I think I had the mechanic over my head, so I had to stop in the middle until a fire circle ignited, so just be careful with that. All right, this is more ice puddles. Take them to the back and you can see the purple lines of the rectangles going across to hide behind the pillar. So you're going to be doing that mechanic afterwards, followed by another large AoE where you need to stay near the boss. Now at this point our boss dies and the other enrages, so we could run over to help, but if he hadn't died we would have had another round of the ice orbs followed by more of the large AoE circles. So here we all run over to the fire boss, but he's low enough that thankfully we can tank through Enrage and get him down fairly quickly. Hopefully you found this helpful, and please check out the BerniesGreenLife's videos in the description again for a DPS point of view that's a little bit easier to see than mine. You're watching VGO 40 and this is VGO Girl, and we will see you next time in World of Kings.